services line in the projection between, well, you got three different numbers there. We have the
Sure.
26 and then a $57,000 bump twice.
Absolutely.
2 times. Can you talk about that?
So our golf course services, that is all of the reimbursed employees from the county to maintain the golf course, right? As far as your carts, your grounds crew, that doesn't include your starters. That's the top item there. Okay. So that's, every year since 2012, we've seen an increase in minimum wage. So that directly affects us because I would say about 75% of our employees are minimum wage employees. So I budget for a 5% increase in there just every year, right? That's what at Public Country Club, that's what we did every year. Okay. Could be 3, could be 7, right? It's kind of an average. Some other, you're going to see a little more in there, in the $517,000 number. That is to get some of our full-time employees to more of a market value, stuff like a mechanic, assistant superintendent, maybe even our irrigation tech. Again, some of this stuff with the new irrigation could be avoided, but I feel, right, that our full-time employees are underpaid at the moment. So
how about the doubling of the professional services line?
So the professional services, what goes into that? We need to do, go in and do some tree removal. We need to do some other services on the golf course that we don't have the equipment to do, like fertilize, spray for pesticides, stuff like that. What also goes into there is our services for our back-end system. So POS system, T-sheet, marketing system, email-based system. I'd like to move away from what we currently have. To say it's archaic is a bit of an understatement, okay? The way I would like to move forward with Desert Hawk, with our current system, we're not going to be able to do what I would like to do, right? Simple things like take a deposit online, paying online, receiving that online. Website is also included in that as well. It's an older system. It works. It's not even cloud-based. It's from a server that
And that's all going into professional service?
They all in professional services. So that's
Gonna get
anywhere
upgraded,
from,
is what you're saying.
that's what I would like to do.
What,
Yes.
have you calculated a cost benefit analysis on what that would potentially do?
Sure. So if we get a new system, this is going to allow us to improve our T-sheet yield, which we've talked about, okay? It's also going to allow us to capture funds online right away, right? Or charge a deposit. What that does is it ensures that if I have 220 people that are coming in to play golf today, that number is going to be closer to 220. On average, let's use our $220 person number right now. We're seeing about 85% of that get to 220. So we're losing, again, if we look at it from an airline perspective, we're only using 85% of the seats, but 100% of them were booked. So if we go to a different system, which I've been talking, and it's been kind of limited because, I'm only my 3rd month in and we're in the busy season, we're going to be able to improve that yield and just be more efficient altogether.
And under this proposal, is the county / Desert Hawk Enterprise absorbing the entirety of the cost of that POS system, or is the manager's support absorbing?
Right now, I would have to follow up with you on that one, to be completely honest. I believe it's 100% to the enterprise, but I could be wrong because my inventory and stuff in the golf shop, that's all separate. So that's being a separate system right now.
Okay.
So this is all tee time daily player management that gives us more opportunities, especially on the revenue side of, I call you today to book a time for Friday.
Mm-hmm.
The concept would be either pay that, and if I take a 4-person tee time at 10 a.m., taking a deposit or a certain amount of that, so that if I don't show up,
at least recovered for part of it. So to Zach's question earlier, can we accept any more volume? Yeah, we could, but this is a way to help increase our revenue.
So you're saying that this point of service system is dedicated to the reservation of the golf course alone, You have a separate one for the shop.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And
So-
restaurant and all that.
And
right?
restaurant, all that's completely separate, yes.
Yeah, I think being efficient and having that, if you're really gonna capture anybody interested in reservations anymore, you have to have an online. If you don't have that, you do lose people,
I can
so.
guess at what our current system, when was that implemented?
When it was implemented, gosh, it was there when I was the first time. If I had to say, that was probably implemented in 2017, 2018. So it was archaic then, it's archaic 10 years later, so 8 years later.
Preston, talk about what is the column with shop payroll?
So, okay, so I handed everyone except for Miles and Zach a sheet here. Don't mind, Zach. So the way the contract currently reads that we signed in May, me to take over, I pay for all of the help that is in the golf shop. Okay. Those people do 97%, or excuse me, 93% of what they do is for business onto the golf course, meaning some of the departments that we were looking for at earlier. Daily green fees, annual green fee passes, triple pass, cart rentals, driving range. Okay. What I'm running into an issue with is that when we read, the contract came up and we cut some of the profit, or excuse me, the revenue share from 10 to 5%, I'm running into the issue where I'm having a hard time paying those employees with what I'm getting as kickback from the revenue share. Okay, so if you were to look at our sheet here, blacked out some of the names. This is our total number of hours that have been paid out for golf shop employees is 460 hours. It's right in the middle there. You can see that at the top. Okay. If you look all the way to the right there, your total payroll cost is $8,700, give or take. Right now, I am assuming 42 hours a week of that payroll. So realistically, your total amount of man hours that's sitting behind the counter for these last 2 months is 732 hours. I'm assuming 271 of them. Just myself, 7 days a week, 6 to noon. Okay. The total amount of payroll costs at $8,700, that's anything outside of what I'm doing there, selling fees for the county and for the golf shop, which accounts to about 7% of it. Okay. If you look at the last two sheets that I provided you guys, this is a spreadsheet that we provide to the county for May and June that shows the management fee that's in my contract. Okay. You can see on the left here, you see green fee totals, cart fee totals, annual pass and driving range. As contracted as per my contract, I get 5% of the cart fee and driving range total. Okay. And then you can see how the base fee is broken down over here on the right. So in May, it's $38.80. In June, it's $38.33. Okay. So if we do some quick math here, our total payroll cost is $8,700, give or take some change, and I'm getting reimbursed for these wages at $7,700. I'm currently in a deficit of about $1,000 just to pay those people to sell daily green fees, cart fees, annual passes. So the column on your right, I know we're going back and forth on a lot of different things on your budget for this year, includes the payroll for these shop attendants. And I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys all the information you needed to understand that, Mike when we were talking about this back in October, November, December, and January, he was trying to explain what the 10% was for, but I don't think he was really giving you guys the information that you needed to help explain why that was instilled. So again, that's, all the way on the right there, that's showing you your last column on the prelim budget. That's showing you your revenue, or excuse me, your expense with shop help. And that will include me working in the golf shop 4 to 5 days a week, my current schedule, which is 6 to 12 hours. The other issue I'm falling into is that, again, I'm working 42 hours in the golf shop weekly. It's taking a little more from the management and administrative side. Okay. We can go down and talk about that a little bit more if you guys would like, but community engagement, interaction with my managers and the golf course, right? interaction with our current stakeholders that come and play every day, leagues, men's clubs, ladies clubs, right? I'm 42 hours a week selling, you want a larger, small bucket, 18 or 9. That's my current outlook for the majority of my week.
So in essence, you're asking for, to amend to go from 5 to 10%?
No.
We have a couple different ways we can do this, right? So again, if you look at the third column, currently what I'm asking in this budget is to put $50,000 into golf course services to cover $50,000 worth of payroll that go into the golf shop attendants. That's currently what I'm asking.
That's a complete
Okay.
change of the contract.
Yes.
I mean, I go back and look at this whole thing. I've heard a lot of, and this goes back to when Mr. Zrimba was here, I heard a lot of, well, this money is earmarked for this type of expense. I remember him saying, I use that money to pay this. It's all revenue. And I think going back in the last year of conversations, you have a revenue line item from the management fee. You have a revenue line item from pro shop profit. You have a revenue line item of food and beverage profit. Since I've been on this board for 5 years, the concept has been, here's all the total revenue and work that through the income statement. It doesn't make sense with what you're saying. I mean, it's an it's an entrepreneurial position of there's X amount of potential revenue there. And that translates to, I don't know the numbers. We don't have your financials. So
Yeah, I don't have.
I mean,
unfortunately.
to move forward with this type of conversation, I would need detailed financials from you, because I look at that and say, well, in my 5 years on this board and looking at all this financial, I would assume that there was a time where staff heavy, tournament months, staff payroll was over what certain revenue line item was allocated. But at the end of the day, when you look at total revenue, it's been very profitable for the manager. I guess that's my trouble with it is you get all the ability to profit from food and beverage, all the ability to profit from pro shop, but now you're asking us to pick up more of your fixed cost, is what I'm hearing.
What I'm trying to explain is that the fixed cost of this total number of our 8,700 on our payroll sheet, 93% of it is county work. Because 93% of the transactions that are going through that those people are doing on a daily basis, including myself, 42 hours a week, is putting people on the first tee or on the driving range.
Yeah, but you make money on that.
I do. I make 5% on the cart fee and the driving range fee to help subsidize that payroll, which I'm assuming 271 hours of it.
I don't think it was ever a position that you were just, I don't want to say
That's
this
an
incorrectly.
unlimited amount of income.
And in just a managerial, I mean, I go back for, being at Fub West for a very long time. Mr. Zrimba, he worked pro shop all the time. I couldn't tell you how much, but it's part of the industry is hours at the desk.
And I'm willing to commit 4 to 5 of those days into that.
Well, according to the contractor, you were willing to commit all of it.
I mean, I look at it's an entrepreneurial position of, you have unlimited revenue opportunity in a sense.
as we just talked, we have a limited amount on our T sheet, so it's not unlimited.
Well, typically, private industry, whenever they're, busy beyond their capabilities, they raise prices. That controls volume, so you can up the price on the T costs and
Just like we can raise revenue sharing percentages, same
I
thought
would-
process.
Me personally, to continue this discussion, I would need to see your detailed financials.
I would like to see them too. We're our second month in.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Yeah.
get a full quarter in to help. I'm just giving you guys a breakdown because I had to produce a budget to you guys by the end of,
I mean, yeah,
July.
I agree with that. That's where we kind of were with Mike and not getting that breakdown and being able to.
and I feel like I'm giving you guys as much information as I can get, unfortunately. It's just from a perspective of, I'd love to dive deeper into these numbers. Can't, I gotta go sell range balls and green fees.
So I think this conversation would feel different if we had more accurate projections for 27 revenues, because the projections for 26 are well above what we're projecting for 27 for revenues. And that's across all categories. Plus, we have to remember that now the percentage split for the enterprise is 5% greater. And so these, I don't think these numbers are accurate. No offense. I think you're just basing them largely on 26 numbers, but I mean, you're selling yourself very short in well, and that's, assumption of we've gone half the year and we can expect to double the revenues that we've experienced up to this point, but you're selling yourself short in cart rentals. You're selling yourself $100,000 short in green fees based on actuals for 2026.
Correct.
So I just think it would be a different conversation asking for an extra $50,000 in payroll when in reality, we're expecting, another $300,000 in revenue difference from 2026. It's just a different conversation, because I don't think any of us are under the impression that the difference in, $50,000 in revenue is what's going to make or break how we view the golf course. None of us are expecting for the enterprise to get rich. Yes, we would love to save some money for capital projects in the future, but I do understand your argument that by and large, the people in that shop are contributing to the golf course operations, of which the county, the enterprise experiences the bulk of the benefit. But these gentlemen are correct. That's what you signed up for,
Sure.
right? So I think there is a middle ground, but I think what would be beneficial is more accurate projections for revenues in 27, because I think you could bump that total operating revenues a number up by a couple $100,000 conservatively.
Yeah.
I mean, and to piggyback on that, the added professional services expense of a better system, you would assume that that's going to translate to more revenue.
Exactly.
Yep.
And we're adding expense to be more efficient, yet we're not seeing that in the,
I'm adding expense because those are the numbers I know. I can't project what adding a deposit, I can, right? I sure could, right? But I'm
Well, I guess the assumption of
producing a
better.
budget my third month in, and I haven't seen the downturn, the down months, right? So I'm giving you conservative revenue numbers so that we can have an idea on what it's going to do for 2027. But I know these expenses. This is stuff that I can tell you.
So do you think that it's accurate or inaccurate to double revenue numbers based on 26 actuals? Do you think it's been that much of a gangbusters year where we should be more conservative with our second half projections?
So I can't really speak on 26, but I can speak on 25 because we have those numbers nailed down, right? In 25, we did 41,227 rounds, right? My projections for 27 was for about 40,000 rounds, okay?
why are they going down?
I believe that I'm seeing a trend, right? And I can give you all these reports, but I didn't want to, I already gave you guys an 8 to 12 page deal. Didn't want to give you a 22, 30 page deal. We're seeing a trend in and it doesn't look like it, but we're seeing a trend in range balls sold less and more people playing 9 holes. Okay, which tells me one of two things. It's too hot, people don't want to go play 18 holes.
Mhm.
Or two, they're getting a little more squeezed at the wallet that they may just want to maybe hit one less bucket of balls or go and play 9 holes instead of 18 because it's a cost effective thing. Okay, that's how I'm getting into my 2027 numbers. Again, been there for 2 months. This is a trend that I've seen within the last 4 weeks. May necessarily wasn't that way. June is a little more that way, bleeding into July. Okay, I'll just tell you, to be completely honest, 2027 is not going to be like 2026. This is going to be our highest year for rounds, cart fees, driving range balls for a long time. And that's due because of the weather that we experienced, right? We haven't had rain, a lot of different things. We didn't have snow over the winter. Because we're getting to capacity with volume. Unless revenue numbers can change, because we can change daily fees. But number of rounds and number of transactions, I think that we're very close to 100%.
Well, I understand. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but like you said, you're 2 months in, 3 months in on a contract that we did make provisions for to renew or look at every year. I think you need a good basis of numbers before you start making, decisions that
Absolutely.
highly impact.
So
Is it
the-
feasible that, and this is kind of a county budget question, so by the IGA, it has to be submitted by the end of this month, and our next meeting is October. To get Preston more data, would we be willing to roll that requirement to the October meeting to get like the data we're requesting to give Preston more time? And would that put the county in a bind for their budget deadlines? Is that
According to the
something we could
IGA,
do?
it needs to be approved by the enterprise or the BOCC by the end of September. The budget needs to be approved by then.
Yeah, so that's the question is, could we roll that? Could we amend that to, I don't know when the October meeting is, that you submit in October and then it goes to the county after that? And that's really my question.
We
And
could
that-
approve whatever, a couple weeks after the October meeting,
Right.
end of October or something
And then we
like
get
that.
the data that people are looking for. Because right now, we're kind of going to make a decision based upon projections and the weather.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have one of our attorneys in the room, but
Well, do we have a legal obligation to approve the budget per the contract, or is our true loan legal obligation to approve a budget that we submit to the state? And the Desert Hawk Golf Course Enterprise is
part of
one
that.
fund within the entirety of our budget. I don't think the timelines super matter as long as, gentlemen's agreement that we're going to be pretty flexible. I do want to give you the assurance that you will know what your budget is,
Mhm.
before December 15th when we submit it to the state. But, I think this board approving a budget is important, but let's say we approve a budget walking out of here today, that the county has work to do to finalize a budget that ends up being the Desert Hawk budget.
Correct.
So this is, we're signing off on Mr. Ewing's recommendation really, and then county gets the final approval during our budget process.
And this discussion is to make a recommendation that's piggybacked on me to them, essentially. So
So the elephant in the room, so you're paying more for employees, and you mentioned you wanted to raise their salaries up.
all of my golf shop employees, except for one, are part-time and get paid minimum wage.
Yeah.
The first column number of $517,000 in the prelim budget, that's just for golf services regarding maintenance of the facility, maintenance of the carts, maintenance of equipment, all that different stuff.
Okay.
The third column would be the inclusion of, I don't know, what is it, 4 or 5 minimum wage employees that
Understand.
are part-time.
Did you know what they were making before you signed the contract?
I did not have that
I
information.
mean, I look at the
I could
93.7
recast.
that you've mentioned, 93% of everything goes to creating revenue for the county. I'm just struggling to swallow. We have months of back and forth to get to a agreement point. And then 60 days in-ish, I don't know the exact. 60 days in, it says, nope, that agreement does not work. On saying that 93% of all of my cost is going to county. This was fully disclosed. I mean, this is in the diligence period. I guess, I don't know how to word it. This was known.
I didn't have payroll numbers for those people.
I'm struggling to swallow months of negotiation to, nope, this doesn't work. We need to change it and I need more money. That's in layman terms.
And I would, in my contract that we negotiated, we can look at this for every December and make amendments.
That's what I'm struggling to swallow without seeing any financials either. For 5 years, we've been told I need this with nothing on the other side. That's been the, that's been what's.
No,
Are
Are you talking about like restaurant operations financials?
I'm talking when our operator, because I look at this thing as revenue, okay? I look at one big pool of revenue. I know accounting wise, you can dice it up into, this dollar payroll is creating this stream of revenue. I look at revenue and expenses. And this stuck with me so long with Mike. Mike says, don't worry, I'll make my money. He would say that constantly, as minimum wage changes. He was looking at his overall financial operation. He wasn't looking at, well, my pro shop is $600 to the negative per month, but my restaurant operation is $10,000 to the positive this month. I need more revenue to offset this. It was a revenue and expense. Because I guess going back to the negotiation, there was never an allocated stream of revenue to pay for a specific expense line item. The manager's, what do we call it? Manager's revenue that we pay.
management fee.
That's not earmarked for any type of revenue. The cart share and the range ball share, that is not allocated in my financial eyes. That this revenue is strictly down this silo. Revenue expense, we're at a positive. Revenue expense, we're at a negative. We need more revenue here, please. That's how I've always looked at this is total revenue, total expense. And that's where I'm struggling to swallow.
But I 100% understand where you're coming from, Sam. I don't agree that we need to concern ourselves with what he's making on the restaurant and pro shop side. What I agree with you is we entered into a contract that said, here's the splits, here's your rent. And that's what we need to worry about. And what we need to worry about is golf operations and how it hits our balance sheet and our golf operations, revenues and expenses, and how they, what do we want to come out at the end of a year as the board where we can control golf operations. You're right. He has to worry about his revenue and his expenses because there's other parts of the operation under his purview. But I think we have to decide what's appropriate on the golf operations side. And to that end, I think where I struggle with another $50,000 in payroll is even without the shop payroll, what we'd be agreeing to in this proposal is a 10% increase in payroll across the board. And I tell you, county employees would love to have a 10% increase in payroll. And it's not going to happen. So that's what's hard for me to swallow is to say, we're going to give everyone at Desert Hawk a 10% increase. I understand your minimum wage argument. But we're already bumping up payroll by 10%. And then to say that we have to offset the golf course the pro shop operations because they contribute to our revenue, that's what's kind of hard to swallow. We're bumping that number up in a big way.
Well, it's important to understand that this is Again, I'm paying them, right? Obviously I get reimbursed, right? But PGE Golf is paying them, right?
Sure.
So obviously not, the only county employees in there are the starters.
Yes, sir.
And again, that's the same fundamental 5% increase, right? But I understand where the county's at, but this is a very functional recreation facility that is paying for its expenses, right? And when you look at it, we can pay for these expenses. And our employees are working hard out there. They're, you know, number 7 the other day. We had to, 3 of the guys had to do a 12-hour day because we're working on an irrigation system that's from the 70s to go in and replace a joint on a line that wasn't even in there, right? It's not even going to anything. It could have accounted for 4,000 or 5,000 gallons of water every night being leaked out. But it finally went. So I understand where Sam's coming from a revenue and perspective, especially on my end. I'm not advocating for me. I'm advocating for the people that are there every day, giving the experience, and those are the people why we have the revenue that we have today to put out so that we can have a functioning golf course and we have a different conversation and we're not in a deficit.
Do you think you're at accurate staffing levels?
Yes. Yes.
So you couldn't eliminate one?
The only reason I would eliminate one is for 2 reasons. If we got new equipment, new machinery, or we got a new irrigation system.
But those aren't, we're talking staff. We're
Correct.
talking pro shop staff.
Oh,
here.
you're saying pro shop staff?
Yeah.
I have to staff it from 6 to 6. I wasn't there this morning for 6 hours. So whose pocket did that come out of to pay that person to sit back there while I came to this meeting? And I understood that obligation. Trust me, I completely get it.
I get it. I do, but when you're dealing in, and I don't mean any offense, but when you're dealing in the real world and contracts and things, you know, sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But we do have the year built into the contract. I think we need more time, more numbers.
So I'll give you the basic numbers. I've given you the payroll numbers. I've given you the reimbursed numbers from the management fee. Can also give you the number that this from 25 to 26 and bleeding into 27, due to the new manager's contract, it's adjusted for the county, for the enterprise, $43,000. In a reduction of 10% to 5%, and by adding on to the lease. That's the basic number. $43,000 taken out of it just by renegotiation of a contract. Good by you guys. You guys negotiated well. 100%.
No,
but that's the number.
The restaurant,
The restaurant's
according to the
gonna
figures
be
that we got,
regardless.
supplied a lot more revenue to the manager than this even comes close to doing. So there was a balance between all of these things.
I go back to, this was not a W-2 salaried position. This is an entrepreneurial endeavor I guess you can always talk about the upside, and then you can also talk about the downside risk as well. That's entrepreneurial. You know, you take on risk to create upside potential.
And the risk is, from my perspective, less people on the first tee. If I put more people on the first tee, everything else is going to benefit, including the businesses around the golf.
But we're saying that the amount of people on the first tee is going to go down.
Yes, that's essentially could go up.
Have you surveyed golfers in any way through Facebook or whatever else like that, what their feelings are and the projections that you're seeing of 26 being our pinnacle year? What they're saying, is it financial? Is it weather? Is it whatever?
It's hard to tell. It's more financial. Again, I interact with hundreds of people every morning just to check them in, and every time I get someone in there, it's, man, this is a very reasonable. You guys got a great golf course. This is cheap. And that's usually some people from out of town. That's usually some people from Pueblo. It's usually some people from Colorado City. Just depends. But that's an overall, in my opinion, in Pueblo, the golf is very cheap for the products that we put out. But it's not saying that we're not making it work, right? I don't need to. I'm a golf grower. I'm not a diminisher, right? More people in the game is great. That's my fundamental as a PGA golf pro. Bring people into the game. But we have to look at it from a business perspective as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we always have that option to adjust things. I mean, so I guess where we're at now is, I think everybody is of the agreement that we need more time and more numbers,
I agree.
right?
I do have one question in regards to upgrading the system. So you can do your online booking and all that stuff. Okay. How much would that cost? Okay, and how quick could that be implemented?
System, I wouldn't care to implement until the winter, right? Until the dead
Okay.
time, essentially. Because there's gonna need to be retraining, I'm gonna have to relearn and train everything, right? So I definitely would wait until probably January, December for that. You know, obviously I have to adhere to budgetary numbers, so I'd have to wait till January anyway, right? How fast it would recoup itself, I think over time, it would recoup itself quite a bit. You know, you're talking about, instead of getting $0 from one player when they don't show or they short show, you're getting potentially 10 to, fees are, you know, $58 now, $10 to $58 now per player. And it's hard for me to estimate that because I can't, I'm working with the system that doesn't produce that information for me,
Mhm.
right? So, but I see it on a fundamental day, 15% of your people that are booked, that's a lot of money. Even if you get 10% of that, right? That's a lot of money.
Does everybody else in the Pueblo County take deposits?
No one takes a deposit.
No one does. So this would be
This would be
unprecedented for the county.
would be a step in a different direction.
Would you get a bunch of pushback?
I think so in Pueblo County, yes. If nobody else is doing it,
But is it pushback, I'm not gonna go, or is it pushback, I'm just gonna complain about it?
Both.
I think both.
Time will tell.
I would say, yeah, exactly. I do think you're gonna get pushback of, no, you know,
I thought they won't schedule.
I would say that I would say that could, you know, we're all speaking what if right now. I don't think it's gonna be taken 100% with smiles and grain of salt.
Would it?
Well, yeah, but who cares? I mean,
Yep.
it's not unprecedented in the country
No, it is not.
or outside
I
of
would say
Pueblo,
it's industry
Colorado.
norm, coming from
Yeah.
the Denver area
Yeah,
a few years ago. You
It's normal everywhere else
absolutely-
but Pueblo County. I can say that about a lot of different aspects of the golf industry. You know, Pueblo County is operating completely different than
Well,
Springs. and
somebody's
Denver.
gotta be first.
Yeah.
We gotta
I agree.
adapt a
At
little
what
bit
cost?
sometimes.
Well, you have an opportunity to incentivize that deposit. Let's say for the driving range. People who just show up every day, they pay the bucket price. Those who book online and give a deposit, they get a slight discount. A little incentivizing there. Same thing with the green fees. And then you could adjust those green fees, those bucket costs, the driving range costs, cart costs, okay, to incentivize them to doing an early deposit and early booking.
Similar deal as, again, I use the airlines, right? You pay more to cancel your airline up to 24 hours before. You know, you pay up
Exactly.
front, right? You pay up front, you can get a little less, but it's non-refundable. We have so many different ways you can go with this model. I need the right system to do it. To be completely honest with you.
So to that end, I think what we're trying to accomplish here is potentially approve a budget, support a budget today that can eventually be presented to the Board of County Commissioners. We can certainly have an interim meeting between now and October. But I would be supportive of approving the budget, the 2027 budget without the payroll, without shop payroll as a sign off that we have received something from Mr. Ewing. We are supportive of it, and it can be the foundation of which we work on the county side when we're preparing our actual budget, because I think the POS is important. I think having that software, that booking ability is super important. I support that. I support tentatively putting in the increases kind of for utilities that we see in there, for the increases in salaries or for golf course services, let's call them. I'm comfortable with where this budget landed, knowing it's not the final version and it's something to build off of as the BOCC starts their deliberations for the entirety of our budget.
Before you guys approve that real quick, I just want to add two things that are not in there that you guys may see a big discrepancy in. The last thing, capital improvement, clubhouse remodel, we've been talking about that for almost a year now. That's going to be budgeted for 2027. I don't anticipate that starting till January. Okay. And then third one up from the expense side, machinery and equipment. I know we've spent a lot of time on this item and I appreciate everyone's time. There's some lease agreements with LL Johnson Toro that I'd like to get into to get some machinery in there to help enhance the golf course and get us on a different perspective from a maintenance and grooming level. So just so everyone's fully disclosed on everything that I have and that I included there. So
2027.
and if you guys had any questions on either one of those, I would be more.
So you're saying 2027 budget's gonna,
It's gonna include a lease agreement for potentially,
and is that in here?
that's under machinery and equipment, it's $60,000.
Right.
Okay, the $425,000 again included the
Golf cart.
golf carts. That was 350,000 of it. 30 of it is the new pump that we had to install for pump number 3 in the pump house. And then we finally got through, and we may even have it today, a new purchase of a used piece of equipment for a fairway mower.
So the 60 is the Toro and all that.
That's our lease agreement for the next 6 years is what that would be. 5 to 6 years.
So that $60,000 would be a reoccurring.
First 5 to
For
6 years.
5 to 6
That
years.
is correct. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Again, I know we've spent a lot of time on this topic and I appreciate it, but just so you guys are fully aware.
Point of clarification, is that a cumulative over that period of time, or is that a per year cost?
That's a per year cost. That'd be,
So you
it's a
agree.
monthly lease is what it would be.
So we'd also be then in the 27 budget reflecting a revenue of whatever the entirety of that lease agreement is, just like we did with the golf.
I don't, but that's probably a budgeting question.
I'm just saying.
It's gonna see,
it's in here.
we have a total amount of $276,000, 289. The county can pay for that however they want. If they want to pay for it all up front and then take it out every year, right? To get that number closer to 250,000.
They're talking about this, the same budgeting
Yep.
technique we talked about with the golf
Understood.
carts.
The way it's set up right now is it's a per year lease. There's no full purchase price up front. It would be a monthly
So
lease.
we're only looking at $35,000 in profit.
Yeah, I mean,
Only
again,
looking at
I think that
35,000.
Miles is right to just, so do we need that
Saying that,
agreement
we need to
on
clarify.
salaries? I mean, is that done outside of regular meeting and then by September? So passing this now with the understanding of adjusting for salaries and what?
The new equipment.
Salaries, new equipment,
Salaries and
utility,
salaries.
utility increases.
Clubhouse remodel,
Okay.
which includes kitchen.
So I mean, do those
flooring.
caveats need to be in the passing of the budget?
Ultimately, again, we could remove all that. You guys can choose to not move forward with any lease of equipment or an upgrade to the clubhouse, or we can say that we can reduce salaries and you guys could tell me that I gotta work with the number, right? But this is me presenting to you how I want to operate in 2027.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I can't look at this stuff on the phone. I would like to get a printed copy, but am I to understand that this budget shows for 2027 that there's going to be a profit of $34,690?
That's not the one they want to approve. They want to approve the $353,000.
85,000? Okay, so just think about this. Last year, the last couple of years, we've had a couple $100,000 in profits. We've reduced the percentages to the manager and our profits are going down. Play is about the same, and yet we're entertaining the idea of paying more for payroll.
We're taking a $65,000 hit on, facility remodel. So that's, I mean,
Well, that's one time.
We're putting
Payrolls
capital.
payrolls
improvement in
forever.
Yeah, you're
there. We're
correct.
investing in our employees. Yeah,
What I'm saying, when you're looking at the year over
They're
year
your
difference,
employees.
sorry.
They're your employees.
You're absolutely
Okay. And that was understood when the agreement was made.
correct.
I'm just
You got
looking
any
at
more of
this.
the 2027 financial that?
You just want a
I got from
financial,
Brian. It's the first time I've seen
a
it.
prelim budget, or do you want a financial to June, to the end of June? I only have that
The
digitally.
prelim budget.
I only have the one.
I can make some copies of this.
I have it on my computer too, so I have this. Yeah, some markings on it.
Thank you.
You haven't even got to the sprinkler system.
Is there any item that you want to try to speak about? Any line item on the expense or the revenue side?
Let's see.
I have notes on pretty much any of them. We need to.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
The scribbles are mine. You can ignore that stuff. So in the interest of time,
Thanks.
because I'm sure we're gonna have a pretty robust conversation about the irrigation stuff as well. I think we just need to plan on probably meeting next month.
I agree.
Well, everyone has their chance to wrap their head around the proposed 27 budget. We'll reconvene next month. And again, this board needs to make a recommendation to the BOCC. And these numbers as proposed, hopefully they'll be close once this board makes a decision. But nothing says that what is proposed to the BOCC will be the final say.
So prior to next meeting, again, only 2 months in, if I have better numbers, would you like me to update the budget and submit it prior to next meeting?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I can do that. Or if there's no change, there's no change.
Yes. Okay, so we'll postpone the approval until a yet to be determined meeting that'll happen next month at some point.
Do we want to you want to pick a date now so that we can all get on? the
That's
same
what I
page?
was
Okay,
getting ready to ask for.
Need to make it simpler. Can you do a narrative summary of the changes for the next budget recommendation so that we have an understanding of what you're proposing and what would have been the original budgets, that we know the changes to expect and what we can review?
Sure. So in summary, right, we're expecting a downtick in potential rounds and number of transactions. But from 25, right, because those are the hard concrete numbers I have, to 27. But with approved fee changes and stuff like that, we're still seeing operating revenue that's much higher. And then we're expecting a utilities increase of anywhere from 3 to 5%. We're expecting a 5% increase in minimum wage. And then there's other various expenses that are going to increase between 5 and 10%, including, and also on the expense side, you would have a lease agreement that we would enter into for 3 pieces of machinery that would last for 5 to 6 years. And then you would have a capital improvement project of the clubhouse that doesn't just include the flooring, it would include the kitchen, the entirety flooring of the clubhouse and anything else that we would need on the interior.
So I think what Commissioner McFeeters is asking is get us your updated numbers for 27,
Mhm.
include exactly what you just said as, an appendix to the budget, and then we can hash it out again. Does that work? Thank you, ma'am. How about the 19th of August? It's a Wednesday, the 19th.
12th or 19th works
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us. So
That work?
can everybody make it on 19th?
19th, same time, same place.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
All righty.
On to discussion of the irrigation system funding and sources.
Sure. So not looking for any sort of formal discussion or decision today, but as you know, trying to get grants to help fund the water irrigation replacement that we're framing as a conservation project. That way we can get water resource funds from the ARC and then from the state, get the CWCB, the Colorado Conservation Board. But the issue is a lot of those require matching funds. So the general discussion is, and probably apropos to the budget, is are we willing for those matching funds to take basically golf course revenues, or do we want to look for other sources to help get those matching funds as we pursue these grants? Because if we're not, then it's going to be very difficult, or I'll have to look for other sources of funding to get these sources. Now, a little background. We were going to apply for one in June, but we didn't have enough information. We're going to look at one that has an August 15th. That's the WSRF grant. However, Preston provided the Heritage Link and Aqua Engineering analysis, which was done actually fairly recently, of the irrigation replacement. We think if we do that, and the only thing we're truly missing is an actual engineering assessment of what the golf course is currently leaking, and potentially what a new irrigation system would provide in terms of water conservation, which we estimate would probably be 25%. Put it just in a little budget perspective, if we fix the irrigation system and get a 25% reduction, it would save $100 grand in the water bill for the golf course. Obviously that's road. That he would do the water engineering analysis for under 10 grand. So probably not worth applying for a grant at that point because it's not significant enough that they would consider it. So that would put us in the December 1st deadline for looking at the CWCB board, where we'd start looking at actually phasing it in, because we would then have the engineering analysis that would give us credibility for what we say we'd save. Plus, we've already got the design already completed. So that's potentially $300,000 off that we would already have done. So the discussion here is, and I threw some question, is whether the board supports continuing this exploration for grant funding, whether we'd consider recommending that the enterprise support these required local match for similar grant applications, and whether enterprise funding, including golf course related revenues or reserves, could be appropriate to match those sources. And it basically, according to the IGA, section 4.9 basically says revenue derived from the golf course, and then item B says can be used for maintenance, management, equipment, and operations. So that's kind of the legal entity of the path we're following. So as we pursue this, just the general consensus is, yeah, this is worth it. Keep pursuing it. We would have to come back if we got to that point. Let's say we apply. You want to have, we'd ask for letters of support. So from this board, from the county commissioners, that they have our support. You don't actually have to establish funding when you apply for the grant, your matching funding. It can come after the fact, but obviously before the grant's awarded or before any contracts. So grants can be very time consuming. So it's whether we just want to pursue that energy, and or if you say, and we'll pursue everywhere we can to get money.
What's the potential number on that?
The 5.3 million is what we estimate.
So the grant would be, the grant. would be-
You're not going to get 5.3 million. You're hoping to get a fraction of that. And if we got $1 million.
So the grant would ask.
250.
Would ask for everything, would get what you get.
Absolutely.
And then
We gotta
everybody
cover-
else is, per paper agreement covering, matching that. So if
Yeah.
you get $1 million.
We got to come up with
They-
4 point something.
No, that's to
Well,
complete
two-
the whole system. He's
250.
talking about grant match.
Yeah, grant match.
So
Yeah.
do you have to put in $1 million to match the grant? And then obviously the
And
project
after-
is
and-
more than that.
And to that 5 million number, we plan on, right now, the current plan is to do it in 3 separate phases.
Yeah.
And so it'd be years like we're looking at, but we're looking at it would have to be done in phases because we're probably not going to find
We don't-
$5.3 million under a rock anytime soon.
My opinion is that, yes, I am in favor of, I think that's exactly what excess revenues for the course should be used on, is
Yeah.
continuing to upgrade the infrastructure. And, it is a luxury to have excess revenues so that we can talk about the long-term health of the golf course. So from my perspective, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that we've kind of agreed to that in the past of excess revenues going towards the maintenance, which obviously the water system is a part of that, is certainly applicable.
So currently, all of our excess revenues are going into the enterprise budget, which is at a negative deficit. We're not setting any aside at the moment. So in the IGA, if, I didn't have that prepared, I apologize, but if you go under 4.9 under the budgeting article, talks about an endowment fund.
Yeah, this whole thing goes back to 20 years of 15, 16, 17 years of being unprofitable. When you get to the accounting of the negative balances, right?
Yep. So
Yeah, I mean, the county and Pueblo West Metro have just dumped
Yeah,
money
we've
into the golf
discussed
course
the
system.
last few years that the golf course cannot afford to pay back all of these accounting deficits and fund an irrigation system. We've had that.
No, you can't do
No,
both.
You
absolutely.
can't.
And I mean, I think we've come to the agreement long ago of we kind of have that realization. I mean, we're all living with decisions that were made before any of us. But
So my question is, can we use this endowment fund? Can we take some of the revenues and the profits from just say 26 for right now? Can we put some in the enterprise fund, and then can we put some in the endowment fund? And the reason I came up with this question is because I have community support that would like to donate money and do golf tournaments and do all these different things. Let's just say we raise for the irrigation system, right? If we had $50,000 just given to us today, where would it go? Right? For the people that donated the money, I would like it to go into capital improvement for the golf course. Right? The way it's set up now, it wouldn't.
it would go to endowment.
It would not. It would, right now, from the communications I've had with the budgeting and finance department of Pueblo County, it's all going into the enterprise fund.
And
There's no endowment fund that I'm aware of.
There's
That's
no
the-
endowment fund, again.
there's an
Just
account,
communication.
it just sits there.
There's no
with
endowment
zero
fund and
balance.
it has a zero balance.
Right.
So we're not utilizing it, right? So
Well, but that's also like the third or fourth thing in the tier of how things get paid too.
it's not,
Yeah,
it's
we
not a
purchase
tier.
equipment, we purchase all the maintenance requirements. We keep this up. Going back a couple of years, the discussions were, okay, let's actually have a conversation about the so-called, unprofitable debts. And then we have a $4-5 million
Hit.
hit that just gets tossed in the middle of that conversation. So that's been the difficulty is
Yeah.
to jump in the middle of this IGA and say that here's where the funds are and here's where they're going. We've discussed that for a long time that it's not.
Ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I might be asking questions that have been asked already. This is my
You're
second
fine.
or third meeting, so, it's kind of already laid out, like Bill kind of already shared, is it's not necessarily a pecking order, it's A, B, C, D, E, right? It's not
Right.
first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth.
Yeah, no, it is. It's A, B, C, D. So the first thing you do is pay back the loans, or you pay the debt. First thing was pay the debt, then pay back the loans. Then there's two other things, and then you get to the endowment fund.
Sure, sorry, that's
Point of
not quite how I
clarification,
interpret it.
The repayment of loans is actually D. The first one, I have it here, total amount owed on the annual lease payment is the top priority. The
Absolutely.
second, B is cash expenditures, which include expenditures for golf course maintenance, management, equipment, operations, and improvement funded by cash revenues as set forth in the approved budget. C is funding any contingency fund or carryover line item for any capital project beginning in a year but not completed. And then D is the repayment of all loans made by the county and the district to the enterprise.
But B is irrigation, can be lumped into irrigation.
Yeah, or it
Or
could be
irrigation
locked
can
into
be
maintenance.
lumped
Yeah,
into- Yes.
it's semantics at that point where you
Right.
want to put it.
I mean, to get back to the original topic, I think that we certainly continue to pursue. We are not going to be able to come up with the money to foot the bill for the
Absolutely.
irrigation system individually, or collectively between us. But I mean, if we, as we've said before, if we want to start looking at capital campaigns to help soften that blow, I think that's appropriate. And if we start collecting that money, I mean, we can earmark it for irrigation or anything else like that. I hope people are fully aware that, 50 grand is very, very much appreciated. 50 grand is not going to put in a new irrigation system. So there's time associated with that. I mean, anybody got anything else except to just kind of keep continuing on
Yep, I'll keep.
researching and trying to find solutions here? Okay.
I mean, I don't know how to, but I mean, we've
Well, then
been
don't.
talking about this irrigation now probably 4 years. And we're exploring grants. I guess we keep beating around the elephant sitting over there in the corner. We're gonna do this, or, I mean, we could find all the different ways to say we can't afford this. I mean, we can go through,
Yeah.
2 hours of discussion here. And I appreciate your work on this, with you stepping in maybe in February, March, I think is when you came in here. We're no further along at least in my view. It seems anywhere.
I think
Is it
information.
just me?
No,
It doesn't seem like we've discussed it.
Yeah, no.
no, you're right.
Obviously,
You're
but
right.
we're nowhere.
Informationally, I think we may have a little bit more, but I mean, I don't know.
I mean, we
I know
spent 50 grand last year on an engineering report. Or was that 2020? We spent some money
Last year.
last year, 2025, I believe. We're just,
I mean, we needed that to obviously even make a determination on what it costs, where we could go pursue grants or anything else. I mean, I don't know. At one point, I thought, Bill, I remember somebody saying that you were talking to one of the.
Yeah, it was
Rainbird or
last year at the
something on
SDA conference. I talked to Rainbow.
Financing, a
Yeah.
loan,
like not an actual bid, but
a loan.
Terry was talking about a specific verbiage on, basically get a proposal from contractors that's not an actual bid. That was supposed to
Oh,
happen in
yeah.
February, March, April.
I can get you a quote.
Something like that. Because we've been, we keep throwing this number around, but we're still sitting at square one.
I mean, we can ask Terry again. I remember that and I can't
I don't know
remember
the
the,
verbiage that he used, but it's
neither
like
can
a
I.
request for,
yeah, it's not like an RFP.
it's not an RFP, it's not official.
Right.
It's a, what's this gonna, if you're gonna do it, what's it gonna cost?
Right.
It's not binding.
We can ask them.
But-
Yeah, I hear you. It's just, I mean, again, we gotta find a way to,
But how do we do that? I guess
Rough
that's
order
the
of
steps.
magnitude
How do
is
we
what
do
he
that?
was looking for.
Yeah, that was it.
Rough
That's
order of
my-
magnitude. The only thing I'd caution about a rough order of magnitude is they're only about 30 to 40% accurate.
Yes.
And we have from Heritage Links and Aqua Engineering, that's where the 5.3 comes from. It's
Okay, so we have an
actually
idea.
4.5 with 20% contingencies. So that's, if we spend time on a rough order of magnitude, we're not gonna get any closer. We're just gonna get another number.
I just don't,
It's
is
just-
there some lending institution that's gonna lend us $5.3 million and then we pay them back with interest? I mean,
Rainbird, L. Johnson, they all do it.
Right.
And I know-
do we
and I
have
mean,
any of those
you put
terms?
Together a very
I
good,
don't, I haven't looked.
first time we've seen it, a
Right.
logical timeline. I don't know, we're still sitting same place we were when this discussion was brought up in
I get it.
2022-ish.
Yeah, not to depress you guys, but if you'd been on the ball in 2020, which nobody was here, Patty Jewett in Colorado Springs replaced their irrigation system. They used
What, with
COVID money.
COVID dollars?
And,
Or-
both,
Yeah, two
both golf courses.
both
Yeah.
golf courses. And then one was $6 million. They got free money.
Well, that's just.
So-
salt in the wound.
I didn't just salt the wound when I.
Appreciate that.
And the only thing, I mean, you're right, Sam, but in grants, we've all sat here and thought about grants, but I mean, at the end of the day, if there's these matches that are required, which were
There
kind of
are.
to be expected, great. It's great that you can knock $1 million off, but we can't come up with another 4.3. So I think that probably in reality, the only thing that we could look at doing is basically financing it.
Okay, who
And
then, who
then-
then goes out and gets us
The-
that RFP or bid on, okay, we're gonna finance 4 million? Cause we still don't quite know the number. We still don't know the grant. How do we piece this together so we can actually have
I think
A
if you
yes
would
or a no
work with Terry,
conversation.
if you can work with Terry to try and set that up, and start getting some numbers, then we need to make a call and then what?
Do we need to put an RFP out there or what do you want? Do you want me to just, cause I have all those contacts. I can get you 3 quotes.
I would talk to Terry because I think he's more knowledgeable on that, on
Okay.
what is actually.
and that he was
officially
talking
needed.
rough order of magnitude. I don't know if you could do that in the lending business to where we're not actually taking an RFP.
For
So this is not the first time
30
we've done
years,
that, I would.
25
yeah.
years.
They're like
Part
Toyota.
of the program they offer.
Finance,
Okay,
because they know how expensive it is.
okay.
Well, you know, a bank loan money to buy the golf course. So why wouldn't they probably take the golf course as a
Yeah,
asset? I don't know.
yeah, I would say.
I'll get
Do you-
3.
Do you know Terry? We can
Yep.
put you, okay.
I'll get 3.
Okay.
We'll get it.
Well, see what you can come up with by probably not next meeting because the next meeting will be next month in specific, but maybe October if you guys have some information on it. That's the only way we're gonna be able to get there.
The problem with the borrow on it, remember they borrowed 5.3, I think, to buy the golf course, and it was 8 million is what it cost, or maybe a little over 7,
What do you mean with interest?
with interest and everything.
Yeah.
So you're,
7.2.
That's the same with everything. No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend
But I
way
mean,
more on my house
I
than.
look at this from a high level. We gotta get to a point where we say yes or no.
Agree.
That's
We're losing money consistently on water.
you know, that's.
10,000 a month.
That's
losing
this-
water.
Labor.
That's what we need to get this. I don't know how to, but we need to get to a point
That
where we
and
can have a yes or no conversation.
Your point, labor, I mean, if you're
Labor,
looking at staffing
supplies.
models and,
A lot of things.
right.
all-purpose landscape couldn't put one in.
Yeah, so talk with Terry, October, come back, and then we're gonna have to look at that financing piece. That's the only way we get there.
$10,000 a month in lost water is a significant debt payment.
It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
And we need to
Yeah,
make sure
you could
that
certainly
phase
justify it.
1 of this replacement is gonna
At some point, you have to look at the financials and say,
capture
we're gonna
most
see a,
water that's being.
we're gonna see a decreased expense.
Yeah.
We
you-
have a number out there. You have to take some risk out there and say, okay, can we get this thing financed over the next 25 years to just be a break-even asset? That all end of year profits after necessary maintenance dump onto the.
Yeah.
Onto the irrigation loan. You know,
Yeah.
it keeps it.
It's certainly justified.
I mean, it's a good conversation to say we have profits to talk about. You know, it's not. I don't know, we're just at ground zero still. Like, I mean, a zero, in my opinion, as zero as we were when the first.
I think
word
we
of
just need to
irrigation
come to the agreement of, I mean, we have to finance.
Agree.
Like, that's the only way to get there. Unless golfers get deep into their pockets and everybody give us a ton of money, I don't think that's gonna
Well, yeah,
happen.
you have something catastrophic, I guess you'll see what the community says at that point, because we're hoping that there's nothing catastrophic between now and
Mhm.
whenever that day may or may not be.
I mean, from a governmental standpoint, if we can basically stop the bleeding, I mean, we can't affect decisions that were made historically on buying the golf course and everything
Agreed.
else like that. So if it can self-sustain with profits, paying for note, like all that, then I mean, I think we've all come to the realization in any of our time on any of these boards, we're not getting paid back. Okay, all right, we'll get that for the October meeting then. Anybody got anything for the finance report? moving on. Bubba West, you guys got anything?
Just a quick update. So, I think I've mentioned this, but the Pacific Institute Water Now Alliance, we did get the grant from them for technical assistance up to 250 hours. So we have been working with them. And they have one of their reps coming down Monday, which will work with Preston and Todd, the maintenance guy, just to get an overview on the golf course. One of the things they'll help propose, they do help with technical assistant, grant writing, et cetera. They don't do the engineering analysis, but they look at doing, we say non-functional turf, not in the true Colorado sense, but looking at the areas around like the clubhouse and greens where you don't need a playing surface and you replace it with buffalo grass and other non-irrigation stuff like that. So we do have one of those guys coming down on
Yeah.
Monday. So
I remember being out there and Mike was saying that they did that in a lot
They've
of
done a
like
lot,
yeah.
non-playable areas and stuff.
But
Yeah.
part of that, they can't, the
What?
water
It's still
system, you
irrig-
can't push the no button, so a
Right.
lot of that natural
Right.
is still getting
Exactly.
Yeah.
water dumped.
Which again, you're not seeing, so you're not seeing the benefit of doing any of that with this
yeah, so what,
Teflon water system.
yeah, so what you see is that goes into your grant application. Is
Right.
I'm currently watering this, I'll stop
And it would
watering
stop
this.
watering.
It's 10% water savings.
Okay. Good stuff. All right, cool. The 12th, right?
19th.
19th.
19?
All right, thank you all.
Make a motion.
Our next meeting will be August 19th at 10:30 a.m. and I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a
So
motion
moved.
to adjourn.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned.